One of my favorite things, I found this, and it's a letter from camp. Mom sent the kids to camp. So here is the letter that Mom wished she would have got from her kid at camp. Dear Mom, thank you so much for letting me go to camp. I've learned so many cool things, like how to take a fish off the hook, tie sailing knots, and how to groom a horse. Thanks for packing the sunscreen. I've been out on the lake a lot, so it's really come in handy. You think of everything, and I've been drinking tons of water since it's so hot. See, I do listen to your good advice. Remember, this is a letter she wishes she would have gotten. Okay? The other boys in my cabin are really smart and nice. I'm making lifelong friends I will cherish forever. We've had fun learning camp songs, playing cards, catching frogs in our free time. During quiet time, I read the book you sent along. What a great selection. Like you suggested, I'm trying a lot of new foods. You were right. Oatmeal at breakfast isn't bad if I add raisins. And don't worry, Mom. I'm using all the manners you taught me over the years. We're camping under the stars tonight. I hope to see fireflies. I love you. XXO. P.S. Tell my brothers I miss them. Now, this is the letter she actually got. Dear Mom, good thing you packed extra underwear since I had diarrhea. It got on my shoes, but not on my pillow. I have a great imagination, just killing me. I'm having fun at camp and learning stuff. I rock at windsurfing and kayaking. I've ate more push-pops than anyone. I've ate 23 since Monday. There's still 2 days left. 37 is the record. I can beat it. Sweet. I went horseback riding, and the horse in front of me took 3 huge dumps. Smoke came off the poop. It was awesome. I used my toothbrush to dig for worms. Don't freak out. The guy in the bottom bunk let me use his. It's safe. I know his name, and he can burp the alphabet like me. A kid named Zach can burp the alphabet backwards. I'm practicing that. We put oatmeal in the counselor's baseball hat. It was pretty funny. Oatmeal is bad, Mom, even with raisins. I agree completely. The best part, I shot a rifle. I'm a good aimer. Can we get one when I get home? Did you know that you can light farts on fire? I'll show you on Saturday. Love XOXO. P.S. Your spaghetti's way better. P.S.S. Tell my brothers to have lots of farts for Saturday. See, sometimes expectations are here and life delivers down here. Anybody know what it's like to have expectations way up here and life delivered down here? All of us have had things in our life where here's the life we expected, but here's the life that got delivered. Expectations. So everybody wants to live a greater life, but sometimes the expectations and reality seem to be pretty far apart, right? So today we're starting a new series and we're calling it Greater. And that's the way we want you to do more or be more or even be a better person, although that's probably not a bad idea. But here's what we understand. In order for me to have the greater life, Jesus has to become greater in my life. John the Baptist put it perfectly. Here's what he said. He said, John chapter 3, verse 30, he said, he must become greater. I must become less. Here's the day version. The more room in my life he takes up, the less room in my life I have for stupid Dave. How many guys know that there's a stupid person living inside of you? Come on now, I will tell stuff. I know stuff. You hear what I'm saying, Darren? You hear what I'm saying? Okay? I'll tell. I will. Okay, so The bigger He is, the greater He is in our life, the less that we have to worry about us. As a matter of fact, it even works this way, that when I elevate me, I actually minimize Him unknowingly. Okay, so we all want to live a life where faith guides us and we don't have the situations of life having us play whack-a-mole living everywhere we go, right? So God takes these broken, bruised, broken systems, broken people, broken lives, and He uses them to put us all together in this one community called the church so that we can become something greater. So here's this really cool verse. I love this verse. It's great. It's in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Here's what it says. Message Bible says it this way. Workouts in the gymnasium are useful. Okay? But, I like that word, but a disciplined life in God is far more so. Okay? Now, I talked to somebody earlier and they said that they're practicing for a half marathon. I ain't doing that. I'm not a workout kind of guy. I maintain this wonderful physique by jumping conclusions and running at the mouth. Right? Okay? Okay, but as a matter of fact, if you see me running, you should run too. Because something is not going well. In case you're wondering, I always try to hang out with short, heavy people. We'll just leave that at that. Okay? Okay, so, but really, here's what the Apostle Paul is trying to tell us, is that whenever we flex our spiritual muscle, we're way more likely to win the battles that we need to win. It really makes a difference, right? So with this in mind, every kid has a when I get big story. Your kids have a when I get big story. You ever heard little kids, when I get big, I'm gonna. You know what I'm talking about? When I get big, I'm gonna be a race car driver. When I get big, I'm gonna be a good parent. I'm not gonna feed my kids oatmeal. You know, so every kid has a when I get big story. Because God created inside of every single person early on in life for us to live a life that's greater. We want to live a life that's greater. And so the reason I kind of set that up is, I mentioned this before, but as a freshman in high school, I was a very small kid. Very small. I was about 4 foot 10 inches tall as a freshman in high school, 14 years old. 4 foot 10. That's short in case some of you don't know. I weighed a strapping 95 pounds as a freshman in high school. Even the school pictures made it look like I was in 5th grade. I mean, it was horrible. But anyway, I said all that because one morning we're hanging out in front of the school waiting for the bell to ring because you're not supposed to go until the bell rings. So we're hanging out, and I started talking to this girl. And she was laughing in all the right places and flirting just enough to where this 14-year-old boy was absolutely sucked in. You guys know 14-year-old boys? So the girl started talking, he's like, ah. I was 100% clueless about my surroundings. Everything disappeared, but this girl was she was laughing. And she kind of did the hair twirl thing. So you know, I'm like, ah. So oblivious, I didn't see it. Him. She had a very, very big boyfriend. And I knew he was there after he socked me in the back of the head. Now remember, I'm 4 foot 10, 95 pounds. He was, I don't know, 11, 12 feet tall, just. And on the back of the head, knocked me to the ground. So because of my extensive training, I curled up in a ball and waited for the beating to be completed. I call it the armadillo defense. He just absolutely pummeled me, man. So now I knew after that I needed to get bigger, needed to get greater. Because here's what we learned. When we're too small to fight the battles that we fight, we know that we have to become greater, because when you become greater, you actually start walking in victory instead of trying to deal with the defeat. Does this make sense? Okay? And so, now, here's the deal. So, after that day, I decided I'm going to do something about getting beat up by the gigantic guy. So I tried to learn jujitsu. Sounded cool. That's the martial art where you learn to use the size and weight of your opponent against them. Now, what I didn't realize in learning this is that it takes a lot of cooperation from your opponent. And my older brother wasn't willing at all, so it didn't help. But I ordered the Charles Atlas bodybuilding kit. Now, some of you are like, Charles, Google it, I don't care. So you have to, when you got the bubble gum, you had the little cartoon thing, and on the bottom, order your child. So I ordered a bodybuilding kit, and so for weeks, man, I'm working it. And so one day I decided, okay, so I went in the mirror. It was the same scrawny kid. It didn't look any better at all, right? So here's the deal. So what I'm saying for you and I, it's not the gigantic boyfriend that we're afraid of. It's not the giant on the battlefield that we're facing. The problem that we wrestle with is the image in the mirror, because whenever we look into the mirror of our life, we still see the scrawny kid. We still wrestle with that. That's what we're trying to outrun. See, I was so focused on the scrawny kid on the outside, I didn't see the man that God was working on the inside. So we're so focused on the outside and stuff that's going on, we don't see what God is doing on the inside. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, there's no magic tricks. There's no formulas. There's no shortcuts. Matter of fact, it's in Luke chapter 4 when Jesus was being tempted, the third temptation, the devil came to him and said, look, if you will fall down and worship me, the devil, then I will give you all the kingdoms of the world. Now, the way that translates into our lives, it says, if you will compromise who you are, you can become who you think you need to be. How many of us can relate to that? Compromise who you are, you can become who you think you need to be, right? See, now that's how Abraham ended up with an Ishmael. It didn't go so good. That's how King David's house never found peace. That's where Moses lost his place in the promise. That's why the Apostle Peter went back to fishing. See, if we compromise who we are, thinking that we will become who we think that we're supposed to be, most likely we will end up back where we were. So here's what I'm saying. So for us, we want so desperately to live a greater life. We want for things to be better. We want to be financially secure. We want a home. We want a happy life, this kind of stuff. But the enemy of our soul convinces us that we can make compromises to do that, and it never actually works out. So here's the challenge. So a lot of us, we know that there's some areas in our life where we absolutely need Jesus. Anybody know that there's areas in life like, man, I couldn't do this without him. So we're going to call those high faith places. Everybody has some high faith places? You need a lot of faith to walk this out. But the problem is, on the other side of the coin, there's these other areas where we got this. In fact, people say, well, I need Jesus for everything. Well, I can shower by myself. So we have these areas where it's like no faith required places. And see, we're convinced we have these ideas of relational or emotional or mental glue that kind of keep things together. And so we kind of work the system a little bit, okay? Now, trying to hold things together. Now, anybody remember school paste? Remember school paste? School paste. It's kind of the same food group as Play-Doh. Anybody ever taste Play-Doh? Come on, yeah, you know. How many of you guys have never tasted Play-Doh? Sheltered childhood. Sheltered. Blue's the best. But just that school paste, kids eat school paste. So the reason that they used to give the kids school paste is number one, it won't poison them. And number two, it just washes right out. Now, I know these days they use glue sticks, right? Glue sticks. What you don't know is your kid uses that like a push pop. You say, I just bought you 4 last week. Yeah, Mom, they're delicious, right? Okay, so anyway, now here's the way this works. For many of us, our solutions to life are school paste solutions. They're safe, but they're not very solid. Those school paste solutions will usually give us school paste results. And what happens is that sometimes we convince ourselves it's working, but we don't understand the hopelessness of our efforts. Human effort is generally fueled by human emotion. Emotions don't last. And when the emotions subside, it puts stress on the solution. And if it's a school-paced solution, generally everything comes crashing down, right? So we need something better. So what that means is, it says in Isaiah chapter 64, verse 6, it said, our righteousness, or our efforts to be good, are like filthy rags. So what's he mean by that? He means our efforts are disposable efforts. It gets dirty, we throw it away. So we have disposable solutions. We have disposable relationships. We have disposable values, disposable choices. And we just keep running through stuff. But the problem is, even with those solutions, even with the stuff that we're going through, we still, when we look in the mirror, it's even more and more frustrating, because when we look in the mirror, we still see that scrawny kid. And we're still trying to prove to ourselves that we're no longer the scrawny kid. So what we really need, we need solutions that look not just on the outside. We need solutions that actually dig deeper in and find out what's going on the inside. See, the problem is, if all you do is fix up the outside and it's still broken on the inside, it doesn't get any better. We need something that's better, okay? So we've all lived these lives where things happen around us and to us, and things we've done and mistakes that we've made and wrongs that have happened in our life, and they leave these deposits on our life, right? Sometimes it's crummy parents that jacked us all up. Sometimes it's bad choices in relationships. How many of you guys know somebody that made a bad choice in a relationship? You know somebody, right? And they might even be wearing your clothes, I'm not sure, but you know. But see, it leaves deposits in us. It impacts our lives, right? So either good or bad, it all deposits something in our lives. So now, in high school, I took a photography class. Not that I wanted to be good at photography, I just thought it would be an easy class. How many of you guys took a class because it was easy? Come on, I need a couple friends here, come on. Right? Say, oh, this ought to be easy. So I thought, photography. Did you? Take pictures. How hard is that? So one of the first things we learned in photography class, one of the first lessons, was about exposure. Exposure. So the way that exposure works is you have an image in front of the camera, and the shutter opens up for like a millisecond, and the image in front of the camera gets deposited on what's inside the camera. So for you and I, exposure, what we've been exposed to, what we've experienced, the things that have happened to us, the things that we've done, the things that were done to us. Images that are in front. When our shutter was open, something got on the inside and deposited itself, okay? Watch this. Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. Here's what Jesus said. He said, the eye is the light for the body. The eye, the stuff in front of you, gets inside of you. Are you with me? The crashed relationship in front of you can get inside of you. So the eye is the light for the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are evil, your whole body will be full of darkness. So here's what he's saying. The stuff that we're exposed to, good or bad, gets on the inside. Now the stuff that's good, great memories, good lessons, great stuff. But there's a lot of other stuff. The images are deposited on the inside, right? So what's on the inside bears that same image of what's happened on the outside, okay? Things that we've been exposed to that have left images on the inside. Now, whether it's darkness or light, whatever the case is, it still has that image in us. So the good images makes it the great memories, bad images, not so much. So the real tragedy, I think, for what gets inside of us, some of those experiences, some of the things that we've been exposed to that have deposited image inside of us have convinced us to define who we are by what we've been exposed to. See, if you've been abused and that got inside, you think of yourself as less. If a relationship is crash and burn, you convince yourself, you know what, maybe I made some big mistakes here. What sure I can go back and fix that? See, it gets on the inside, and sometimes we define ourselves from the images that have gotten inside of us. Is this starting to make any sense? So we need a solution for that. See, that's the tragedy. Now, it's hard to let go of when we still see that scrawny kid because we're still trying to prove to ourselves that we're not that kid anymore. Now, in photography class, I did learn that there's one way that you can completely erase all the images that have gotten inside. And what it is, you take what's inside and you expose it to the light. When you expose it to the light, guess what happens? All of the images disappear. There's nothing left. Okay? You expose them to the light, the images disappear. Because light dispels darkness. Watch this. It's in John chapter 8, verse 12. Jesus said this. He said, I am the light of the world. Or in other words, if you're wrestling with the stuff that has gotten inside of you, the image that have gotten inside, the solution is expose it to the light of Jesus. Show it to Jesus. Say, here it is. Here's my experience. Here's what's happened to me. Here's what got inside of me. God, here it is. He shines his light on it. And my friend, here's what I'm saying. The grace of God, the grace of Jesus Christ takes it and makes it as if nothing ever happened. He takes our sin and washes it away so we become white as snow. But check this out. This is kind of fun. John the Baptist saw Jesus coming. And he made this really crazy declaration. He said, behold, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. Now see, from our perspective, it's like, whatever. But see, in the culture that John the Baptist was talking to, they would take a lamb and offered as a sacrifice to make atonement for their own sin. But the problem is it would only work for a year. So it was taking the sin and the problems and kicking them down the road. Anybody ever play kick the can? Anybody ever have anything kick your can? I'm just playing, but And you catch up to it and you'd have to kick it a little bit further down the road. See, that's the way that the sacrifice went in the culture that John the Baptist is talking to. So what he said, he goes, look, this isn't going to work like you guys are used to. See, there, behold the Lamb of God. He doesn't simply kick the can down the road. He doesn't push it off another. What he does is he takes it away. He takes the images that have been deposited in our life and completely wipes it away. So here's what I'm saying. The image that you see in the mirror, if you still see the scrawny kid, my friend, you are not seeing what God sees. He sees something completely different. Now, back in the day, can't believe I said that, back in the day, you would go to the film lab, the photo lab, to pick up your pictures. Anybody remember going to a photo lab? All you old people, raise your hand. Okay. And in those pictures, they would also have these little strips of celluloid. What do they call those? Anybody struggling with negatives? Anybody struggling with the images on the inside that have had a negative influence in your life? Anybody know what I'm talking about? And you can't get those images? How do I do that kind of stuff? See, here's the thing. If we were to take this film and expose it to the light, when you'd hold up the negative, you know what you would see? Absolutely nothing. My friends, when we're talking about Jesus, when we're talking about forgiveness, when we're talking about grace, that's what we're talking about. I talk to people all the time that are trying to make up for misdeeds. And they're saying, well, I hope I'm good enough now. You don't understand the grace of God. You think he's holding you responsible for the negatives, and what you don't understand, he's already exposed it to the light. And when the enemy, the accuser of the brother was saying, hey, do you know what happened to you? Jesus looks at it and says, I don't know what you're talking about. There is absolutely nothing left in this film. It's been exposed to the light. It's completely gone. They are walking in life as if nothing ever happened. My friend, that's how grace works. That's why Romans chapter 8, verse 28 says it this way. Romans 8, verse 28 says, all things work together for good for those that are called, that love God and are called according to his purpose. See, when people hear your story, they go, man, that's terrible. That's all bad. But what they don't understand, that's just the first chapter. What they don't understand in the second chapter, what we did is we said, here, Jesus, I'm showing it to the light of the world. And after I show it to the light of the world, he erases all of those images. And so what happens is God takes the stuff that was meant to harm me and mess me up and turns it around. Now God is using that to benefit the world. So the stuff that happened to me, it didn't destroy me. It helped me and built me up. I no longer see the scrawny kid in the mirror. I see a mighty man or mighty woman of God that is able to walk this thing out the way that you're supposed to. So let me wrap this up. I'm so wound up I spit all over myself, man. That's why the first row that far back there. You're out of the splash zone, you know. Hey, if you talk this fast, there's lots of stuff falls out you don't even know. In Greek mythology, there's a hero called Achilles. Great warrior. He was absolutely unbeatable. He won every battle. I mean, they couldn't kill him. They would fire poison arrows at him, and he would just shake them off. A great hero. The way the mythology goes is this: his mom wanted him to be indestructible. So when he was a baby, she took him by the heel, and she dipped him in the river Styx. The river Styx in Greek mythology is the river that separates earth from hell. Now, the way the story plays out, this invincible warrior in battle couldn't be killed by anything until a poison arrow stuck in his heel, the only part that wasn't dipped in the river. And from that wound, Achilles died. The invincible was destroyed. So here's the question I have for you. It's just kind of an obvious question. What's your Achilles heel? What's the part in your life that didn't get dipped? What's the part in your life that you still hide in the shadows? See, what happens is we're afraid. I mean, somebody might judge us. Somebody might think bad of us. And I talk to people all the time, and I talk about them coming back to as well and say, well, I don't know. They're afraid somebody's going to look at them weird. What they don't understand, the reason they're going to look at them weird is maybe because of hair color, but not because of what you've done. But see, here's the thing. Whatever we hold in the shadows, the enemy of our soul will hold against us. And it will be the accusation. As long as we have this stuff in the shadows, every time we look in the mirror, we will see the scrawny kid that gets beat up every time. And God says, you know what? I'm doing a work on the inside. Don't be concerned with the outside. Let me build up the man in here to make you powerful out here. That's God's plan. God's solution for you and I, just like the film, is to bring it into the light. So what part in you has been held back that you're afraid of? What negative got stuck in your head that you can't shake? What song about your past keeps playing over and over and over that feels like it got you stuck? My friend, bring it into the light. Let God, erase all those images. Whatever we keep in the shadows, God can't heal. He must become greater. And the control that image in the mirror has over me must become less. I want to see what God sees. Let me tell you 3 things, and I want you to remember this. 3 things. You ready? How many of you guys have bad memories? Write this down. It's easy. It's easy. You ready? You write this down? It's fine. I'm looking around. I see some of you guys. I'll remember this. No, you won't. Here it is. Number 1, I can't. Everybody say, I can't. Number 2, he can. Number 3, I'll let him. I can't change the image that I see in the mirror. I can't erase all of my past. I can't change the way that I live. I can't do any of that. So He can. He can change the image in the mirror. He can change what's on the inside. He can change the world around. He can heal me from everything that is wrong. He can give me a whole new image. He can erase all of those things. So the last and the most important part is I'll let Him. I'll let Him. I'm going to get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please. 2 simple questions today. Question number 1. Something negative in your life has captured your mind. And every time you think you're okay, it comes crawling back. You guys know what I'm talking about. And when can I ever shake this? When can I get past this? If your heart is held captive by the negatives in your life and you want to be set free, show me your hand right now. Say, Pastor Dave, that's me. That's me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hands all over the room. I know that there's more. Say, you know what? I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of being down on myself. I want to be set free once and for all. If you haven't raised your hand, just do that real fast, real fast, real fast. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Question number 2. Even easier. You've been hiding in the shadows. Something in your life been hiding in the shadows. You're afraid of what people will think. It's this reoccurring issue that keeps happening. And you're afraid to bring it into the light. First, let me tell you, nobody's here to judge you. I don't want you to stand up. I don't want you to come to the front. I don't want you to confess anything. What I want you to do is just bring it out into the light. Show it to Jesus right now. So if there's something you've had hiding in the shadows that you're worried about, just raise your hand up real fast and right back down. Real fast. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Could y'all stand, please? Hey, after service, I'm going to sell you this, okay? Anybody want to buy this? Want to buy this? You know what's funny? Now this is 100% useless. Completely useless. Because it's been exposed to light, it no longer has any power to retain any image whatsoever. None. That's what Jesus did for you. Does that make you excited? See, when the accuser, the devil, it makes accusations to God about you, God says, there's nothing there. All I see is white. So this morning what we want to do is, before we let everybody go, by the way, I think it's already 100 degrees outside. Feels pretty good in here, doesn't it? In fact, in the first service, I saw a young lady. She was wrapped in a sweater, and I said, "Are you cold?" And she looked and she said, "Yes." And I said, "Thank you." That needs to be a good memory for the rest of the day. But we don't want to assume that just because you came to church that everything is okay between you and Jesus. We want you to be assured that you made things right between you and Him. Is that a good idea? Okay. So what we do is we want to pray this prayer with you. And somebody asked me the other day if we believe that you can lose your salvation. What we believe is you can be dumb enough to walk away. Anybody ever been dumb enough to walk away? Come on, I need just a couple of people say, yeah. And I've talked to people saying, man, I've been serving God my whole life. It's like, well, that's a surprise to Him. You know? It's really as simple as a prayer. So what I'd like us to do is I'd like us to all pray this prayer together, okay? You ready? Say, God, thank you for giving your Son Jesus. He took my place. He carried my sin, my mistakes, everything that has happened to me, and everything that I've done. So God, I thank you for your forgiveness as I surrender that to you. And I embrace this new life with you from this day forward. In Jesus' name, Amen. Congratulations, friends. Now, people say, so that's it, I'm good. I know that you already know this, but it's probably a good idea to keep coming to church. Because we've already seen your work, right? Keep hanging with us, get involved with a small group, get on a serving team, grow your faith, because God has a greater plan for your life, right? Greater plan. So this morning, it's really important that you understand. Don't be held hostage by the negatives, because God's got a different plan completely. Okay? Pastor Robert.